and the smell of marijuana reeks inside of my entire car. I get a call from one of my valet attendants, and he is absolutely crying on the phone, saying that a car got stolen, which sinks my heart each and every time. So while speaking to him, I couldn't figure out what kind of car it was, but it turns out it was his own personal car got stolen out of the parking lot. How did that happen? So he told me that the other valet saw the car leaving, and he figured, hey, you know what? He must be going to grab something to drink or running to the store down the block. Turns out he sees him walk around the corner, and he's like, somebody just left in your car. He runs around the corner, he sees it, it's gone, he starts crying hysterically, never seen the car again. Now, tied into that one, the general manager of our company on Christmas Eve got his car stolen too. It was a little bit more his fault. It was the end of the night. The restaurant said, hey, we have some food packaged up for you at the front counter. So just go inside, get the food, and just have a Merry Christmas. So he started his car, he pulled it up in front of the restaurant, and not even 10 feet away, he ran inside the restaurant to grab the food, and someone hopped in the car that quickly. So even though it was on the valet that their own personal cars, we did not have to cover it. Of course, we feel bad, and in the second case where the general manager got his car stolen, it was retrieved, and they did steal the wheels, but he was able to get newer, nicer wheels. So he was actually happy at the end of the day. On this particular account, it's a private members-only club. So we park in front of the building, or we take the people in front of the building, and we park the cars inside the parking deck. This gentleman came in a very large lifted Ford Excursion, probably had a 6-inch lift on it, had a safari racks and a cargo with a big wheel on top of the vehicle. So he gives the valet $20 and he says, please, it's not going to fit inside of the parking deck, just park it out in front. The valet nods his head, gets in the car, and what does he do? Drives right up the thing to the parking deck, hits the tire against the roof, bounces off the carrier, and starts rolling down the hill towards the customers. So the other valet was able to stop it, kick it over, and the customer just looked, I just told you, please don't park it on the deck. Turns out he figured he didn't speak English well. The valet says he didn't understand, but these are the type of situations that we have sometimes with our parking lots. One night we had, at one of our clubs, a customer came in to valet park his Volkswagen Jetta. He came in with 2 other people in the party, and they went inside the restaurant. And so it's a restaurant/club. A couple of hours later, one of the people in his party came out and said, hey, can you just give me the keys to the vehicle? So the valet recognized him of being one of the people in the party, so he gave him the key. Turns out 20 minutes later, after sitting in the car, this guy takes off in the car. His own friend takes off in his car, but essentially we now have a stolen car. So he comes out an hour later, says, hey, where's my car? He said, my friend took it. He's like, I didn't really know that guy. So we're now going crazy. This guy's a little upset because it's technically not even his car, it's his mother's car. So we're going through all this mess. We get him home. Next day, we do find the car. We found the car at the guy's apartment. So the guy apparently just took the car home, but he was drunk. He ended up hitting a curb, scratching the rim, and doing some damage underneath the front of the car. And for some strange reason, he stole the factory radio. So we replaced all of that stuff. We were very nice. We gave him a gift certificate back to the location so they would come back to the place and hopefully not have a bad impression on the valet company or the account. So 2 weeks later, our general manager, the same one that just got his car stolen, is doing an interview. And he likes to ask people as he's doing interviews, how did you find out about our company? He's like, well, it's a funny story. You got my mom's car stolen, and I liked the way you guys handled it, and I felt that this is the type of company I wanted to work for. So he worked with us for over 2 years, and he's now moved on, and now he's a real estate agent. So this happened a few years ago where a customer came in and a Lexus LX470, and then another car was a Honda CR-V. So the valet was rushing to park the car and inadvertently, instead of putting it in park, put it in reverse. The car started rolling backwards with the door open and hyperextended the door onto the CR-V. So the guy with the Lexus, he was understanding. We took it to the body shop. I think that was almost $12,000 to fix that door. And the CR-V was a little bit different. I think the CR-V only cost maybe about $1,000 to fix the bumper. But what was unique about the CR-V It was the lady's birthday. She had balloons in the car. She had just purchased a car, and it had 23 miles on it. Needless to say, she was still happy. She was still jovial. We got the car fixed, but that's not the type of experience we want people to have on their birthday inside one of our restaurants. And what we like to do in any of the cases where we have an accident or we do some type of damage, we do like to provide gift certificates for people. So it's kind of like, hey, we know we fixed your car, but we want to go a little bit above what we've done. So again, you don't have a bad impression on the valet company and or the restaurant. This happened probably in the late 2006, 2007 era. This involved Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston. I get a call from one of their reps that said they were very upset because the valet attendant had placed a mixed CD tape in their CD player. And so when they got in the car and drove home, it started playing his song. I don't know if he was the next coming Eminem rapper or something like that, but he felt the need, hey, I'm going to put it in the hands of people that I think can do something for me. I commend his forethought to do this, but perhaps it didn't work in this particular case. They were very offended. They got upset because he had taken a CD out and put his CD in. Unfortunately, I had to terminate this valet for that reason. The restaurant was not happy. They were not happy. And honestly, I wasn't happy. I mean, A for effort, but F for execution. We had a particular case where I've had 4 valets get robbed at gunpoint. One, we were working an event late at night, collecting money, and we were working various parking lots in this particular area for another type of music festival. So we're charging $10, $20 a park, and I get a call on the radio that, hey, I just got robbed. And I'm very cautious with these guys. I tell them, hey, don't keep any more than $80 on you. Put the other money in another pocket or do another drop. But of course, this valet had $600 or $700 in this one pocket, and they robbed him. It was that quick. Suspect was wearing all black, of course. Never found that person again. This one particular day, I get a phone call from an agent that needs us to do a valet parking party that night. I'm on the road headed back from out of town, and I usually don't like to do parties last minute like this. So I give them a price, they accept, but they won't give me much information. They just said it's about 30 people, and it's VIP, which we get a lot here in Atlanta. We can pop up on any type of parties. We've done parties where it's Lil Wayne or Shaq or somewhere like that. So we're constantly doing these events. So we get to this particular party, and they didn't want us to use cell phones whatsoever, so we had to surrender our cell phones. I told them I need to keep my phones, but my employees, yeah, they can definitely not be without their phones, so we can make sure it happens. So we get inside, and we find out it is Robert Downey Jr.'s house here in Atlanta, and this is a wrap party for the Avengers, one of the latest Avengers movies. So literally, when I say everybody who is everybody was in this party. So we saw everybody from Anthony Mackie to Ant-Man, which is Paul Rudd, to Chris Hemsworth. It was amazing. The valets were just shocked. The door that surprised me the most, and I'm usually not starstruck, was when I opened the door and it was Gwyneth Paltrow. That shocked me. I was not expecting her. I've never seen her before. It was pretty amazing to see her get out the car. So even though it was an incredible event, we only parked 4 cars. One of the best cars I saw there was actually Robert Downey Jr.'s car, which was a Karma Rivero. And to me personally, I absolutely love that car. It looks like a spaceship. He had it out in front. He had handlers that were just dusting it every 30 minutes to an hour. It's just a gorgeous car if you've never seen one before. I wish I could have gotten a picture, but I think security and the police would have jumped on me, so sorry. This next event I am not proud of at all. This is actually one of our down points in our company's history, but still, for every story, there's light at the end of the tunnel. So for this particular case, Mini Corporation of North America hired us to drive 20 of their vehicles to pick up people at the subway and take them to a local music festival here in Atlanta. So we had a team of 20 valets just going back and forth. The other part was I wasn't in town, so I wasn't here to oversee. So I had 2 of our managers that were overseeing this event. One of the downfalls we did, we allowed one of our other lot managers to allow his girlfriend to work the event. And of course, all hell broke loose. She pulled out, I think this was the second group, she pulled out in front of a Acura Legend 4-door, and she sideswiped the entire side of the Acura Legend. The gentleman surprisingly was pretty nice with handling it, and he didn't want us to call the police. I figured out why. I thought it was something suspicious in the beginning, but he was scared that they were going to total the car. And he loved this car, much like Ludacris still has his Acura Legend 4-door. This guy had the same exact car. So I worked with him, I spoke with him, and I told him, here, this is what I'm going to do. I bought a whole entire second car. So I bought another Acura Legend 4-door. So a new fender, a new door, front door, a new back door. And I said, any other parts you want inside? Free will. You want leather seats, you want new center console, anything. So he was happy at the end of the day. So I just let him have his way with the car because I think we bought the car for $2,000. And I think the body shop charged us another $2,000 to swap over all the parts. So we were happy. That was actually considering we almost totaled this car. He was happy that he got almost a brand new car out of this. The Mini that was damaged was almost $14,000. She knocked off the front bumper pretty good, knocked out the headlight. And this was a car that had 19 miles on it. So we're notorious for damaging cars that have very little miles on it. There was a particular case where I get a phone call about 10 o'clock at night, and they said, Alex, we have a problem. Of course we have a problem. It's 10 o'clock at night. You're not calling me to say hello. So I asked him what happened, and what this valet did was run over a stanchion. And what a stanchion is, it's basically a gated divider that separates the parking lot, the valet parking lot, from the regular parking lot. So they stand about 3 feet tall. And this one, you've seen them round, but this one was square. So what happened, the valet cut the wheel too short and ran over it. So when he ran over it, he felt he was dragging it, so he reversed it. And when he reversed it, it punctured the fuel tank. And now the vehicle is impelled on top of the stanchion and it can't move. So I get the call. I come out to the location. We call a tow truck. We send the people home. And the best thing to do is just take this over to Lexus and let them deal with it. But mind you, it's now about 11 o'clock at night. So the tow truck, we all drive over to the Lexus dealership and we drop the car into the parking lot. But once he pulled the stanchion out, the fuel started dripping out because the stanchion was kind of plugging it at that point. So we get to the dealership and the tow truck driver was like, we can't leave this car here. It's dripping fuel, and at the end of the night or in the morning, it's going to be a pile of fuel at the front door. So what do we do? So I said, let's call the fire department. I think they have something in their arsenal that's called pig putty that they can just plug up these holes for diesel fuel spills and things like that. So I call 911. I said, it's not emergency, but we need to have these the fire department come over and just plug this fuel leak that we're having. They said, okay, no problem. Hung up the phone. I lie to you not. Not even 2 minutes later, 3 squad cars came skidding up to the location. I'm starting to freak out because I thought we triggered some alarm or some type of motion detector because we've been walking around this property trying to figure out the problem. So the officer gets out of the car, adjusts his belt, walks over to me. He's like, what's the problem here? I said, I'm sorry. I explained the situation. We punctured the fuel tank. We're having a major issue. We called the fire department, but I don't know why you guys showed up. They're like, we got an emergency call, so we showed up here. A few minutes later, the fire department shows up. They put their gear on, plug it up, sign here, and left probably 4 minutes later. This one day, we had a private party, and we sometimes have girls that work the private party. So this one particular day, the private party, the girl came to the office, and I said, I'll drive you down because I'm going to be working the event anyway. We'll just carpool over. Happened to be one of my friend's daughters, and she's 18 years old. So we're driving. Let me swing by and get the mail. All of our mail goes to a P.O. box. We don't have it come to the office for security reasons, or sometimes we're not there. So I go pick up the mail, and there's a box, probably 5 by 8 inches, something like this. I get our regular mail, and we're driving to the event. We get to a traffic light. I don't really recognize the box, but it says Prestige Business Services. We're Prestige Valet Services, so whatever. So I open it up. A lot of times, it's samples that people send out. Hey, do this. So I open up, and it's a box of fruit snacks. I'm like, funny. So I'm about to give it to the girl because I don't really get into that. So I'm about to give it to the girl, but something about the box doesn't look right. So I look at it, and I'm like, it looks a little worn. So I open it up, and there's a aluminum bag in there. So I'm like, that's weird. This doesn't feel like gummy bears or anything like that. So I take my knife, open it up, and the smell of marijuana reeks inside of my entire car. The girl's looking over at me like, Alex, is that really how you get down? I'm freaking out right now. My first instinct is to throw it out the window because I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do any of that stuff. Cars are my life. So that's my passion. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, I can't throw it out the window. If I throw it out the window, someone's going to get my license plate. I know. Let's just go to the police department. What, am I crazy? I'm not going to go to the police department. Police department's going to see me roll up with weed and be handed over. I'm going to make a U-turn and go back to the post office and let them know what happened. So I make a U-turn. I go back to the post office. And I'm like, is there another Prestige in these boxes? And they're like, maybe. Why? What happened? So I showed them. Before I even show it, they could smell it. It was bad. It was a very strong smell. They're like, oh, this happens quite a bit more than you know. Since it's legal, they come from Washington State. So people are sending marijuana through the mail. And they're vacuum sealing and putting in packets. I know I probably sound like a little but that day actually really did scare me. So what do I have to do? I have to now call this girl's mom because the last thing I want is for her to tell her that Mr. Alex is getting weed delivered in the mail. So I have to explain it to her, give my side of the story before she's able to give her side of the story.